Hello, hello. Welcome to day 2 of Nervous System Triage Week. This is going to be all about grounding. So I'm going to wait a few minutes for people to pop on, and then we can get started. So as you pop on, I didn't realize there was a cat there. As you pop on, make sure you say hey and let me know where you're coming from. And if you are catching the replay, also just say #replay and let me know where you are watching from also. If you caught yesterday's live, that's awesome and welcome back. We talked about breathing yesterday. I went through a whole bunch of stuff as to like why breathing is helpful, kind of like the biology a little bit, like what breathing can do. And then we got to breathing better in general, like bring your breath from up here down to like deep breathing. And then we got into some breathing exercises. But today we're going to be covering grounding. So I will get started. I don't think I introduced myself yesterday, so I will do that today. If you don't know me, my name is Alyssa. I am the owner, operator, boss babe, whatever, of Liz MS. I am a holistic nutritionist and health coach, and I help my clients with MS rewire their brain and body for healing. I have a wicked back itch that I've had for a little while. I can't scratch it though, unfortunately. Anyway. So we get started. So today is about grounding. So grounding is kind of a term. I put a poll up in my stories. Hello, Crunchy Mama. Hello. So just getting started. Today is about grounding. So I put a poll up in my stories yesterday about grounding. Who knows what grounding is? And most of you said yes. So that's awesome. When you think about grounding, there's actually a few different things that you can think of. One, there's like grounding like yourself in space and time, which is what we're going to be talking about today. But then there's also grounding in terms of like being on the earth and like kind of being barefoot in the earth. It's also called like earthing and things like that. And like we're not going to cover that necessarily specifically today, although that is wonderful and is a great way of also reducing inflammation. Dina, hello. It's also like a great way of reducing inflammation and everything, but we're not going to like focus on that part of grounding today, like kind of the feet in the earth kind of thing. But if you do that on top of any of these other exercises that I'm sharing this week, you're just going to get even more bang for your buck. So yeah. So we're going to be talking more about like grounding our thoughts and like our sense of being and everything like in the moment. So this is especially helpful, I found, in kind of those crisis moments. So like obviously breathing can be helpful, and like breathing is another grounding technique. So everything I shared yesterday can be under this grounding category, but we're not going to review necessarily yesterday. But if you saw yesterday, all of that can be used in kind of interchangeably with grounding also. So grounding exercises are really important for like those crisis moments. So way back when I had a different job, I used to work at a residential program for adolescent girls who had really complex trauma and complex PTSD. And these grounding exercises are what we used when someone was really triggered, really upset, really kind of acting out, like for lack of a better term, but really unable to regulate their own emotions, essentially. That's kind of what it comes down to. So we use these grounding techniques with them to be able for them to like recognize their world kind of around them, because that's what happens a lot when you're triggered, especially if you have a history of trauma. Hello, wave to you. There can be kind of a dissociation happening, or kind of just disconnecting from yourself, your body, your like awareness of what's going on around you. There can be flashbacks, all that kind of stuff. So these are really helpful exercises to bring your awareness back to the present moment and help to start calming that alert, kind of that reaction that's happening for whatever reason, like whether it's triggered or you're upset, you got some really bad news, anything like that. Like this is when these are going to be really helpful. It's like in that crisis moment. So the idea is essentially to divert your focus like back from that spiral, like I said, back to your current surroundings. So then your body is able to kind of overcome like that alarm system that's going haywire appropriately. So a few exercises to do. Hello, I'll wave to you too. Yeah, so a few exercises. So as I said earlier, all the breathing exercises that we went over yesterday can be used for grounding. It's a little bit tricky sometimes, especially if you're like in a major crisis moment, to like fully get a hold of your breath. So it might not be the first thing that you go to, but it might be the second thing that you go to. But all of those breathing exercises we covered yesterday also count as grounding. Another one that I really like that I wrote about in my post the other day was kind of like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can kind of interchange like the different things around, so it doesn't have to be like exactly how I said it. But you would look for 5 things around you. So you would see like 5 things that you see. So this is kind of also getting in all the senses too. So 5 things you see, and then 4 things you hear. And so like it would work better with a partner or like someone to kind of guide you through this too. Or if you have it like written down like on a sheet or something or in a binder that you can just like look back to, that you can follow along. It doesn't necessarily have to be like someone else kind of like coaching you through this, but like maybe write it down beforehand. Like when you don't need it, so you can refer back to it later when you do need it. So what I said, like 5 things you see around you. So like plants, pictures, window, I almost said plants again, books, and my water bottle. And then, oh, hello. You caught that, good. And then like 4 different sounds. So like that could be like the bugs that are, some bug that's going on outside. I don't really know what's happening. This could be tricky though, because I'm not quite sure what other sounds are happening. Oh, I hear the fan. There's several bugs out there, they count. And then 3 textures, so 3 things that you can feel from like where you are. So like the table, like my water bottle, computer, phone if I want to touch it. Like so anything that you can touch. And then 2 things you smell. I smell the outside, that's about it. And then 1 thing you taste. So you might have like a piece of food next to you or something like that. Like don't taste inanimate objects and like food, like not food things, but so it's something like that. So you can obviously interchange all of those senses to be like the different numbers, but like 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Another thing, this takes a little bit of like forward thought, like forward thinking, but to have like something frozen on hand. So either that's ice that you can just kind of like hold like physically, just we would plop ice in people's hands to be like, hey, hello. So like this could be like where a partner kind of comes in. Or another really good one is to have either a frozen like orange, like something you can peel like in the freezer, obviously frozen, or like a frozen washcloth that you get wet and then you ball up and then you freeze it and then you kind of pull it apart. And then as it's melting, like it's easier to pull apart and stuff, but it's still like a little tricky and you have to focus on it. So those like the, especially anything frozen with like temperature, like a temperature difference or temperature change will like kind of jolt your system back into be like, whoa, hello, let's pay attention to this. And like, this is important because it's cold. So your brain's going to start focusing on like the ice in your hand as opposed to like any kind of spiraling negative thoughts that are going on. And then anything that smells too is going to be really grounding. So if you have a favorite essential oil or a candle that you can have on hand, that would be really helpful. And then you can even describe it to yourself. So like if you're smelling it and say it's like a citrus essential oil or something, you can be like, oh, I smell like this citrus. I can smell lemon. I can smell orange. Or if it's a candle, like kind of figuring out like what smell is it. So I think anything like that will be really helpful too. And then obviously like stretching, movement, exercise, like what we're going to talk about tomorrow. But that can be also helpful too, like just to help you get out of like your head and like a spiral of negative thoughts and then back into your body. So your body can like then process all those, not chemicals, like stress hormones and stuff. There we go. But yeah, so today's a little bit shorter than yesterday. But that's about, well, all the breathing stuff from yesterday and then 4, 5 kind of groups of things, exercises that you can be doing. So yeah, so those are really helpful, like as I said, in like really crisis moments, and like they do take a little bit of forward thought. Like if you want like a frozen washcloth or frozen orange, like you have to toss that in the freezer beforehand, you know, but it's helpful to have on hand, like if you need it. And if the like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 like really resonated, I would say maybe write that down and put that somewhere so you can see and be like, okay, this is what I'm coming back to. Or like maybe have a page of like all the top drills that you like from this week or something. And like, so I have a page to come back to, so you can be like, okay, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling out of my head, like, or out of like my body. I need to figure out some grounding stuff. And so you have all that listed already, because when you're in the crisis moment is not the time to kind of figure out what you're like, what tools to use, like how to do them, all of that kind of stuff. Like you want that set up beforehand as much as possible. So yeah. So tomorrow we are going to be, any questions, comments, pop them below. I will take some water and set up for this next week, or for the next few days. But tomorrow we are going to be talking about movement. So getting into like your body and like a little bit from animals. Then we're going to talk about vagus nerve stuff and then tapping to round it out. Just going in. Oh yes, so Dina, you missed the beginning a little bit when I said there's kind of, when you say grounding, there's like two different kind of things that people could think of. Like grounding exercises like this that I just talked about, but then grounding like earthing, like standing in like on the ground, like on the earth barefoot. I don't know how else to describe that. So they're very similar, but it was two different things. So the going in nature absolutely counts as grounding too. It's kind of connecting yourself and like kind of using the earth and like the energy from the earth to counteract some stuff. So I think that counts as well. And I think I said at the beginning, you probably missed it, was like being outside barefoot. Like you can stack these things. So being outside barefoot while you are deep breathing, like doing a few things at once is really going to kind of up the impact here. So if you have seen anything else that I've been talking about, like I do a lot of brain drills. That's exactly how we work in brain drills too, is like you stack them. So if you're only getting so much benefit from deep breathing, maybe try it outside, or maybe try it in the sun, maybe try it barefoot outside. And just kind of keep stacking until you kind of get that result that you need. So maybe that's, if like we're kind of intertwining today and yesterday, maybe that's like deep breathing with your feet on the ground, or in the sand, or something like that. So you really want to kind of, you can like start stacking and getting more benefit for the one thing that you're doing. My niece uses sour candy to help her with anxiety. Yes, exactly. Yep, that's perfect. So she's kind of using this technique or this idea already, because like sour, like that's going to be important to your brain, like sour is like, wah. So yeah, that's same kind of thing. Like that's exactly what's happening. So maybe to take that a step further, maybe she could describe like where she feels that in her mouth, or like where on her tongue. Like usually, like if you have something sour or bitter, like you feel that weird thing in the back of your tongue, like noticing things like that. The taste, like the flavor, how long it's flavorful, any kind of descriptor, sense, smells, things that are coming up, like how it's tasting, like how it's making your breath smell. I don't know. But I think all of that can also kind of make that go a little bit farther. But yeah, very cool. I like how she's using that too. That's really good. But yeah, that would be perfect for taste. Yeah, and you eat something, food, don't taste like your water bottle, or like lick the desk. That doesn't count. It could, I suppose, but I'm not telling you to lick the desk. That's all. That's all. Yeah. Yeah, don't taste the bugs. Yeah, no. Okay. So this will be up on my feed, and tomorrow, as I said, we are going through movement. So stay tuned. I will see you all later, and thanks for coming.